This is Resident Evil 7, the one that turned Capcom around. One of the best Resident Evil games ever. Saying that, it's one of the best survival horror games of all time. Is that too bold of a statement? Anyway, I needed a good spook, and that's why I made this game my next platinum trophy. For sake.
Hey baby, I just wanted to send a quick hello and I love you.
Our game opens up to a cute message from Mia saying that she misses us, but she's not quite done with her babysitting gig. Then immediately it gets spooky with Mia. Then we work out 3 years later, Mia has been missing all this time. So we drive to a remote location in Dolby Parish, Louisiana, in the US of A, where she told us that's her location. We get our first trophy, She's Alive, for simply arriving in Louisiana and watching the opening cutscene. After that, we start sneaking around the abandoned looking mansion, which is basically the Baker home from here on. And we find Mia's purse with her ID in it literally just sitting outside the house. Closely examining this item, we'll get our second trophy, Aha, for just examining an item. This is basically just a tutorial on how to puzzle in the Resident Evil games. We have some good news, and we've got some bad news. The bad news is that we have collectibles to get. The good news, there's already a guide for it, which we'll just be following on our easy mode run, so it's not a big deal. But one of our collectibles is actually videotapes and playing the videotape itself. So our first videotape is playing as Clancy, who's part of a production team on a haunted house show, and doing so, we unlock a drawer for Ethan to access outside of the tape. Doing this will actually get us the trophy Master of Unlocking for picking a lock. This will also get our first antique coin, which we'll use for bonuses like maxing out our health, or getting the Magnum. Back in the control of Ethan, we find a secret passage which leads us to a different part of the house, and we find Mia. But she's very possessed, and she actually is our first boss fight in the entire game. And let me tell you, on Madhouse, she is the hardest boss in the entire game. And care what anyone says, beating Mia, crazy. Anyway, we beat Mia, we trigger Jack, aka Papa Baker. He appears, welcomes us to the family. Son. Welcome to the family, son. Literally, what's the trophy's called? Cool. We wake up and we're greeted by Marg, Jack, Lucas, and Granny Baker, who's all trying to get some infected and feed us. They all happen to leave the table, but leave us with Granny Baker all alone. Yeah, what you looking at, love? We break out of the chair, and we get to explore the rest of the Baker home. And in my opinion, this is the scariest part of the game. So we need to get a key to get under the house, which triggers Jack to chase us all through this half of the home. I grab the key and literally start internally crying. Like a lot, I hate this part of the game very, very much. So whilst I'm scared, clearly, I get 2 trophies pretty quickly here. One is for blocking an enemy's attack, and the other is for closing an open door. On Jack, suck it. And then we escape under the home. After coming back up from under the house, we climb into the washroom, and we find one of our other collectibles we'll be chasing, which say Mr. Everywhere. Further down the corridor, I find another one, but destroying this gets us the trophy, He's Here, There, Everywhere. So back to the main story, we find help from a local officer. Or not. We fight Jack, but actually this time, and by fighting Jack, I mean we just jump in the car, we run him over and over and over again until he's had enough. With Jack dead, we finally get to access the other side of the Baker home. Now we have access to the rest of the Baker home, there's a Resident Evil 7 puzzle that we're introduced to, which is matching a statue on the shadow plinth. But putting a random object like, let's say a herb for example, we get you the nice try trophy. And it also gives us a cheeky little hint to go out and actually find the statue for us to move forward with the main game. Heading upstairs, we find our next videotape called Mia, which puts us in the hands of Mia running around the outhouse, trying not to get caught by Margaret. You eventually do get caught regardless of this, but if she doesn't catch you until the cutscene, you get another trophy. Hey, can't catch me, Marguerite. Once the Mia videotape is all done, we're back with Ethan, and we finally find the statue piece to unlock the dissection rooms, as well as the basement section of the Baker house. So we find an item here called Psychostimulants, which highlights items if you're close to them, so that way you don't miss out on ammo or health items that's just laying around. Using this for the first time gets you open your eyes. carrying on with our light-hearted adventure, it takes us down to the dissection rooms of the Baker home, which they have for some reason. We do that to go find the last dog headpiece that we need to get outside the house. So we find the said piece conveniently dangling right in front of us from a chain for us just to be jumped by Pappy Baker yet again. So I'm kicked into a fight with Jack, mano a mano. There's a trophy that you can only get at this point of the game, which requires Jack to be in the second phase where he pulls the chainsaw out. So ducking one of his attacks as he has the chainsaw, we get you the trophy Duck If You Love Life, which is great practice as one of his abilities is like a pincer attack. It will immediately one-tap you and kill you for good. But finishing up Jack will let us finally leave the Baker home. With all 3 dog head pieces popped into the door, we escape to the garden for the trophy You Ain't Getting Away, which moves us to the next part of the game. Ah, the fresh air. You ain't getting away. So let's answer the phone. So leaving the home and entering the caravan is going to trigger some story development points. It also gives us the ability to buy the Magnum from the birdhouse for 9 antique coins. Now once all the housekeeping is done, I head down to the outhouse, where if you remember, we played as Mia trying to escape from Margaret. Okay, so there's a few trophies we can get here. Now as soon as we open the door, we see some giant ass flies just hanging around the wall, but taking these out with the knife is not only convenient, but it also gets us the trophy, Things Got Personal. Our objective here is to find another statue for the Shadow Plinth, which is just going to progress our story. But conveniently, there are a lot of helpful other items just left laying around. So one of them's a flamethrower, and another one, a bag, which is going to increase our item slot's capacity.
Oh, hell yeah, in the back.
Part of Margaret's whole vibe is that she's the mother to flies and insects, I think. So around the house, there are large nests of flies, but also there are some metal cabinets covered with these weird little spiders. Now, during later difficulties, they do significant amount of damage, so I don't recommend this, but since we're on easy, we can just knife these fairly safely for yet another trophy.
Slashity.
Margaret is touring this outhouse to try and fight us off from getting to Mia, and she does this by swinging her weird little lamp and sending insects towards us. Now I didn't mean to get this trophy here, but using your shotgun on her as she sends flies towards me gets me the trophy Less is More for killing 2 enemies with 1 singular bullet. After that, putting a few more shells into her will make her run away, getting us yet another trophy.
Back off, Mrs. B. Oh, I thought I was dead. I thought I was about to get executed.
We're done with the outhouse and we get rewarded with a final fight with Margaret in the greenhouse, and this entire fight is just her crawling through the cracks while she leaps at us and she swings her giant ass hands at us. Now one of her abilities is a charge attack that she'll either do from the ceiling or from the floor. Shooting her mid jump will get us the trophy Fly Swatter. But let me tell you, it took me 7 attempts to get this, as she only gets to jump at you 3 times before she dies, or she just stops trying to do the move altogether. As I mentioned, it took me 7 attempts, and I saw a lot of comments getting frustrated, and everyone's reply was simply, do it as she jumps. Which, yes, true, do it as she jumps, that's the best thing to do. But I found this layout to be the best, as she jumps at you, and it's just all down to luck on whether or not the game acknowledges this, and gives you the trophy or not. Good luck. With Margaret dead, we get a lantern, and that will open up the secret bedroom at the back of the outhouse. Which is very childlike, isn't it? But it also gets very, very spooky. Nerves are high here, but we truck on and we find the D-Series arm and we escape the big spooky monsters that have been summoned by a little girl, apparently. But we get a trophy for our trouble.
Well, you can't fake this.
With Mrs. Baker down, we're on to our next family member, Lucas. We start his segment off with our second to last videotape called Happy Birthday, which we have to complete within 5 minutes for a trophy. Now the cheeky thing about this tape and the trophy is that if this is your first playthrough and you've never played this before in your life, you're not going to get this trophy, but you're also not going to complete the puzzle properly, as Lucas has purposely booby-trapped this to not be beatable. So my second try, the puzzle looks a little like this. We grab the candle from the wind-up doll and we take that into the cake room, and that's going to start the timer. So from here, we use the candle with the oven, we burn the rope to get into the balloon room to pick up the balloon, We're going to open up the medicine cabinet back in the cake room with the rope, bell, and baby icons, which is going to give us the straw doll. We're going to pull the winding key from the barrel. We're going to pop the balloon into the pipe, which will blow up and get us the feather that is stabbed into our tummy. We'd burn the doll in the oven to get the finger, and then we go to the mannequin, we pop the finger on the doll with the feather, and using the winding key, the doll's going to write loser on our arm, which will open up the last lock to get the valve to turn the water off, light the candle, and voila.
Out before dessert. Complete happy birthday within 5 minutes.
With the tape done, we make our way through the barn and we get back to the happy birthday room from the tape. Since we know the puzzle, we don't have to go through the whole sequence all over again. We can just enter the loser passcode that we got from the videotape, we grab the valve, and we can escape from the barn. That will lead us out to the dock. Now this is a very short path through the dock where a few monsters are going to spawn, but we simply just speedrun past those and we get to our final safe house in the Baker property. I load up and I'm going to get ready for my last fight with Pappy Baker. With both pieces of the serum, we give them to Zoe and she creates 2 vials that's going to cure both Zoe and Mia of the disease, or gift, that was given to them from Evelyn. Now this is going to trigger the Jack fight, and in true Resident Evil fashion, we just have to shoot the large glowing eyes. Now, this fight can be a pain, because there are 2 or 3 eyes that are on his tummy, which you can't shoot at unless it's on the 2nd floor. So having to maneuver him around to make sure they are visible can be a pain. But to actually beat Jack, we have to use one of the 2 serums in order to change Jack back into his original form so he'll die from his wounds. Woof.
Are you alright?
Sure am. Chilling.
This obviously means that we only have 1 serum to give away to either cure Zoe or Mia. Curing Zoe is going to cause Mia to turn on us later on, which will create an additional boss fight, which on easy mode, not a big deal, but on Madhouse difficulty, absolutely not. So we simp here and we choose Mia since we're going to play through the game 3 times, and we finally get our trophy. You better start running for finishing the Baker home section of the game. With our small little rinky-dink boat getting swallowed up by Evelyn's black juice, we wake up as Mia going through the containment ship she apparently was on during her babysitting job. Now, there's not much to note here other than this part of the game is stinky and slow, and we're strapped with our arsenal of weapons, so it gets a little bit spooky as Evelyn tries to make us remember what happened and why she wants to call us Mummy. I make my way up to the 3rd floor where Evelyn is waiting for us to show us a videotape, our last videotape, to make us remember so we can be a family. Now booting this tape up will finally get me the trophy, Be Kind, Please, Rewind, for watching all videotapes in a single playthrough.
Be kind, please rewind. All the videotapes. All 4.
The videotape is fairly short, but there is a lot of story here. The gist of it is that Evelyn is the reason for all the molded appearing, and we thought that we could control and contain Evelyn, which we obviously couldn't. So we refuse Evelyn's offer for us to be Mummy, and we conclude the tape.
We're never a family.
In the real world and not in the videotape, we're back with Mia. We're trying to find Ethan, who is encased in some mold somewhere around the ship. So running up and down multiple floors just to try and find these 2 key items which will help us fix the elevator. On the way to one of the key items, we trigger Mr. Big Molded, and he has 3 attacks, but one of them in particular is something that's important to us. He's going to try and grab us and puke on us. So if you're holding the remote as I'm getting grabbed, I can shove it into his mouth, kick myself off, detonate, and kill him.
There it is. See ya. Hell yeah.
In the final part of playing as Mia, we run through a molded gauntlet, and in one of the last medicine cabinets, it holds our final antique coin that we've been collecting for one of the last collectibles for this run.
Woo! Pelicans in your pocket.
From here, we rescue Ethan and we swap back to controlling him as Mia throws us outside of the room with the serum to finally end this nightmare and finishing up the ship segment of the game. Thank goodness.
Escape from the ship.
The final segment of the game takes us through the salt mines, which I believe to be one of the hardest parts of the game on Madhouse difficulty. But on easy mode, we make light work of this. And deep in the salt mines, there is a makeshift laboratory, which gives us a lot more lore on the infection reports of how this all came to happen. And since I've been reading all of the files in this playthrough, we get our trophy.
All files done.
The final part of this segment, we have a fun gauntlet of molded trucking us whilst we make our way up the salt mines, which is the last real test of the game or the last true boss. It's what I think, especially on the hardest difficulty. We fight two big molded here, baby big molded and pappy big molded. With the magnum and the flame rounds, we make this very, very quick and we're on to the last actual boss of the game. Climbing up from the mines actually is a whole full circle moment. It takes us back to the very first part of the game when Mia was actually being held captive. It also has our last Mr. Everywhere just sitting here waiting for us to get a final collectible. This one is also very missable because once you step past it, you ain't coming back. Heading back into the Baker home, we work out that Evelyn the child was actually Grandma. What the heck? She's actually been spying on us the entire time, watching us and letting us get closer to killing her. I don't know why. But Evelyn is up in the attic and we use the serum on her to show her true form and we begin the final boss fight of the game where we literally just pump 7 magnum bullets into her. Once Evelyn is dead, we get our trophies for finishing the game on easy and then get an ending one, which is for saving Mia. And it's also the revelation of Umbrella Corp is here to clean up the mess they've made. Does that make sense?
Playing it safe. Alright, playing the game on easy modes. It's easy, it's okay, it's fine. Oh, end of the night, get ended 1.
Playthrough number 2 is very similar to our first playthrough in terms of content, but the big difference is on this run is that we're going to be finishing the game within 4 hours. We're also only going to be using 3 or less first aid meds, and we're also not going to open the item box more than 3 times, which does include the 2 times you have to use the box for Lucas's happy birthday puzzle near the barn. I also saved Zoe this time instead of Mia, which gave us ending 2, which is basically just Zoe being left at the Baker home and Mia not surviving as we have to kill her on the ship. So here's a few flashbacks and some of the times that I did throughout my speedrun, just so you can see where I was at and what times I was running with.
Get through that, I think. Maybe 20. Was it 5-2? Oh, okay. Just get me out of it. Complete the game within 4 hours. Trophy number 30. Resource Manager, 31. Complete the game without opening the box more than 3 times. Walk it off. Complete the game using only 3 first aid meds or less. So the syringes don't count. Just a memory now. Get the ending 2.
In the end, I finished this playthrough in 2 hours and 51 minutes. I used 2 first aid meds, and I opened the box 3 times. Doing this unlocks the final unlocks for Circular Saw, which is the best weapon in the game, and the X-ray glasses, which is basically the psychostimulants with no timer. During a singular playthrough, there's a trophy to create all items that contain chem fluid and strong chem fluids. Most of the items you'll create naturally, such as first aid meds or enhanced bullets, but 2 of the 6 recipes require you to use supplements, which only spawn in 5 locations throughout a run and are very missable. With these, you can create psychostimulants and neurounds. Once I created everything, I got the trophy, first place at the science fair. This leaves us with the final 4 trophies and a last but hardest playthrough, Madhouse. On Madhouse, there was a whole new set of antique coins to collect, 33 to be exact, which some are in the same location, some are not. In Madhouse mode, enemies hit harder, they have more health, and there is a lot less ammo, which we don't really care about because we have the Circular Saw, but monsters do have different spawns. Now, surprisingly, the standard monsters didn't really give me too many issues. You just block before an attack and then saw them to death. But what did give me some issues were 2 bosses in particular and the Salt Mine Gauntlet right at the end of the game. Our first bullshit boss off this list is Attic Mia. Since at this point you only have the pistol and 27 bullets. Mia, I believe, takes about 24 headshots to kill her. Ethan, on the other hand, only takes 2 hits and we're basically done. So I had to literally use my World of Warcraft skills to kite her through every room and nearly put every bullet into her, but I do have terrible, terrible aim. Next up is Garage Jack. And in Madhouse mode, some of the items are also in different areas or they take an extra step. So for the car keys, for example, They're located in the toolbox in the boss area, and there is a lockpick in this boss area as well, but by the time you get to the lockpick and open up the toolbox to get the car keys, you're basically dead. So I just let him get into the car and I chainsawed his ass until he died in the car, which I actually didn't think you could do. Every other boss in this entire game was surprisingly easy. Chainsaw Jack, for example, went down in literally like 20 seconds with the circular saw. Margaret went down in less time than that. But I will say the barn fight was a little harder. You do have to fight 2 fat molded, but I was trying to conserve my ammo for the salt mines. But again, nothing too crazy, nothing to write home about. Now finally we have the salt mine gauntlet. My kryptonite, damn it. So my approach here was to speedrun it as I did on easy, and as I've done this entire Madhouse playthrough thus far. But the game is so much more smart than me, and not only did they put more monsters between you and the ends, but they also added a fat molded in your way that you either have to deal with or kite backwards so that you can sneak past him just to despawn him. This section, I'm not kidding, probably took about 50 minutes to an hour between the raging poops and just the resetting in general. This was the hardest part of the entire run, for sure. With that all behind me, I finally finished Evelyn off in a very, very close encounter where I actually thought I died. I pull out the Wesker handgun and finish my Madhouse run with a huge sense of relief. We get Who's Your Daddy and Nightmare is finally over for our final 2 trophies.
Game on Madhouse. The nightmare is finally over. It does stack, thank goodness. And with that, Biosplattered. Get every single trophy.
As I go to wrap this video up, I'm honestly more relieved than I am happy that I finished this game off and got the platinum. I did claim that this is one of my favourite Resident Evil games, but I'm still raging over the salt mine. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, just subscribe already.